What's up, everybody? Rob Spaghetti here. Today we're going to be talking about my Toyota Supra. It's a 1998. I've made some videos on it in the past, but today I was reflecting and I was like, I wonder what it costs to sort of build up one of these things and have it. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the car, I bought this car in 2007. It's a 1998, and I bought it in pieces. And the guy I know who owned it, his name was Dave. He owned it back in from 2000 to 2002, and he took it apart. He was one of those guys that's like, I want the best of this. I'm going to build up this awesome car. And he sort of stripped down everything, took it out, bought all these aftermarket parts, never put it back together. And that's sort of the project from hell, and that happens to a lot of people, that they take cars apart and then they don't put them back together, and then somebody buys them and says like, shit. And that's tough. To buy a non-working car with boxes of parts is not always a smart play. I paid $35,000 for the car with the boxes of parts, which was an okay price at the time. And it came with these wheels, which are HREs. So there we had it. We had box parts lying all over the place. If you go back to one of my earlier videos, you'll see me sort of walking with the parts scattered about, naively thinking that the car was going to go back together in a couple of months. Sure enough, it didn't. It took, I think, about 2 years to get it together. A lot of it was sifting through parts and finding out what's missing. And then after you order it up and it comes in, you put it on the car, and then later on you're like, oh, look, I actually had that right here. So it was sort of a process. And I have my receipts here. The total amount invested, and we can go through all the receipts, a lot of Toyota parts and a lot of like Titan Motorsports, this and that. And I went through 3 people. I went through 2 independent guys that were sort of piecing it together, never got it together. And then finally I went to a 3rd guy who was Braden Performance out in Long Island. And Brian from over at Braden got the whole car working, dynoed it, got it running. And that's where it was. So at that point in time, I think it was about $25,000 to get together. So I was into the car for 60 grand. After that, the first engine blew up. And the reason it blew up was Roger and Dave both had sort of mirror cars. They were getting everything in 2. The car itself, the engines that Roger had built and the engines that Dave had built were built by the same guy. They were both built incorrectly or poorly. I forget what the actual failure issue was, but Roger ran it for a couple of thousand miles on pump gas and he spun a bearing. Dave, since he never got it working, I got it working. When I put it together and started running it, I only ran it on C16. So I was running at a much higher horsepower level, and I chewed through an engine in a couple hundred miles, which sucks. But that was solved again by Braden Performance. I think it was about $7,500 for my next motor, maybe $10,000, whatever it was, with labor and everything like that. I was ultimately out the door at almost $70,000 for this project car. Now, it needs a little bit of work. It's a stock. I kept the thing mostly stock. I'll give you the entire walk around on it. But the engine, just from sitting, there's some fluids leaking underneath the car behind the firewall. So I'm thinking it's probably just probably a transmission seal or something like that, or a transmission gasket. The fan shroud, I broke this fan shroud here. This is reasonably cheap. It's only like $100, but I broke that when I was doing the standing mile in Florida, and the hood was bouncing up and down over 200 miles an hour, and that smacked the fan shroud, gone forever. There's a couple of things. They're just oxidizing just from sort of sitting around, and those all have to be cleaned up. Figure it'll be another $1,000 out of my pocket to get this stuff sorted out, but we've got Jeff. He's going to help it out. He's going to hook it up. Jeff knows these cars pretty well, and that'll make it easy. I'm going to switch it over to pump gas. A big thing about this car is it's only got 19,300 miles on it or something like that. I bought it with 18,600 miles, so I did 800 miles since 07. In 10 years, I've done 800 miles on the car, but they were all fun. I'm going to switch out. There's something in here that I tweak. And when I do that, I can switch a vacuum line, and that will allow me to run it on pump gas. But when I built it, I said, I'm never going to run this thing on pump gas. But at $20 a gallon, you learn if you want to drive it, you might as well put it on pump gas, because even a trip to drive it home is going to cost me $100 in fuel just to drive up the highway and back, and that sort of doesn't make a lot of sense. The incentive to drive it is not there. I've been charging it because the battery's sort of dead, but it should fire right up. Everything that I did on this car, and this is a tough one because the Supra is such a moddable platform. I just wanted a clean car. I never expected it to be such a collector's car. Now I'm a little torn because I feel like I'm driving a car that can't be reproduced because it's a low mile 98 black 6-speed turbo, and there's not a lot of them out there. So then I start saying like, well, what is it worth to me? What is it worth to somebody else? Am I just being a dick by driving a collector car? Part of what happens with these collector cars is they just sit and rot. Like you go to an auction and get a 1963 split window Corvette with delivery miles on it, you can't drive that thing. It's going to fall apart. It's probably leaking all over the floor to begin with. The tires are original. They got 40-year-old tires. It's a death trap if you even try to drive it, if it doesn't explode. So you've now taken a great car, which is why they become collectible, and turned it into a museum piece, a piece of artwork. So I'm still up in the air whether I want to sell this or not. It's just the running joke probably by now on the channel that is he going to drive it, is he going to sell it? But everything I did modification-wise, like even this oil catch can here, everything was sort of, and you could see there's like a lot of extra tubing. It was done because I wanted to mount things where there were original holes. I didn't want to drill the body. I didn't want to do anything that modified the body. There's a couple of battle scars on. Obviously, I've got the stock bumper. I've got the stock hood. But those are the only two body panels that I changed. I don't have the factory wheels, but they're not serial numbered anyway. If somebody really cared about this car enough, they could reverse it. I mean, it's all fairly easy to reverse. I've got zero interest in doing that. I'm probably going to drive it a little bit in the spring, maybe list it for sale. Who knows? If somebody wants it, just email me, or if you know somebody who wants it, have them email me, rob@superspeeders.com. The number is going to be probably 100 grand, if not more. When the new Supra comes out, I expect the hype to build up on these. But like, I don't think I would let it go for less than 100 grand. And if I sit on it for another 10 years, who cares? Like it doesn't cost me anything. It just sits here. It's dirt to insure because it's on the collector policy. And it's just one of those cars that like, I just enjoy it. And now the only things that I would want to do if I did turn this into a driver was I would swap the brakes. I'd put bigger brakes on it because these brakes are good for one stop from 150. And then the second stop, you lose significant performance and so on and so on. So I would definitely swap the brakes on this thing and maybe the suspension. Other than that, it's a super fun car. The last time I physically drove this was when I was going out to the Optima Ultimate Street Car shootout with my Corvette, but the engine block cracked in half. Long story. But that was on a brand new engine. And this one was the replacement car because I had to load something on the truck. I think that was 2011, and I came in, they had to be on street tires, in the C16. I think I came in second or third to last. So that sucks, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I put 10-year-old tires on a 900 wheel horsepower car. It was dangerous. I shouldn't have done it, but I showed up, I did some two-step launches, did some tire smoke, burned them out in fourth gear going down the track. It was fun, but there was no way I was going to compete with the Danny Pops and these other guys who really dialed in their cars. The Corvette would have put up a much better showing. This thing was just there to look good as team B-roll on camera or something like that. I'll show you the couple of marks that are on the car. So the car doesn't have any paint work, and I did that on purpose. Like I could have fixed these couple of little marks, but I'd rather just say the car's got no paint work, and it's a 98 with 19,000 miles, no paint work. There's a mark right down here. That's when it was parked, and I think it was Roger's cousin or nephew or something like that fell on his bike, and that's the pedal from the bike damaged that. That's got to be repaired. There is a nick on the roof right over there. So other than those two things, the car is in remarkably great shape. The interior is very, very clean. There's a couple of little screws missing in the doors here. I mean, we're talking $50 in hardware that I just never went out of my way to go get. It's got the Targa top, which is nice. I never wanted to really do anything on the interior. The radio is actually the radio that I bought it with. It's not the factory radio, but I bought it like that. The Defi gauge is up here. The pillar I added, but it's laying on top of the factory pillar. But there's your update on the Supra. I told everybody I'd do an update. I'm wearing my Supra shirt from the tuner crate. I figured that was an appropriate touch because they got my Supra on a shirt. See the wheels? So there it is. The update next time. If I do, I'm not going to do any more videos on this without driving it. So if I keep this, the next video is either going to be I sold my Supra or I'm driving my Supra. But now you know how much I have into it, and it's not a terrible investment because if I've got 60 or 70,000 into it and I sell it for 100, not the worst use of money. Would that money have served me better elsewhere? Absolutely. But it was fun. I like the car. I'm glad to sort of like claim this one as mine, and we'll see where it goes from here. I don't know. But whatever happens, I will keep you in the loop. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Make sure you're subscribed. If you're not, if you want to see more about this car, and if David Patterson's car is ever complete and Rob Daum's car is ever complete, I'm happy to line it up against this one or my vet, either one. See you later. Thanks for making it through the whole video. I appreciate it. If you like what you saw, like below, comment below. Those both help my videos go up in rankings, and that helps me out. So thank you for that. If you don't enjoy it, don't say anything. But since YouTube does its own like things in the end here, I have 20 seconds in which to do that. And that's going to stop right now.